The drive and determination Microtech extends towards improving the Empire reaches well beyond the city limits. Take our acclaimed restart charity programs that help provide life-changing tech to those in need. All of us together can work to build a better tomorrow.
Star Citizen Alpha 3.9.0 is out to first wave of the PTU. It's not the final live build by any means, but it does mean that we can look at the patch in a lot more detail, and it's no longer under NDA for EVOCATI to discuss the current patch, and more people have access to it, so I can make content on it. Let's take a look at the patch notes and new features of the 3.9.0 patch as of the current PTU in this video. New Babbage landing zone has been added. This is enclosed to protect the inhabitants against the freezing elements. New Babbage is a major social and economic trading hub on Microtech. Also, it features Microtech's flagship store. The landing zone is a haven for smaller tech companies. So you're going to see lots of different shops there. We've got new clothing and armors and as I said, shops there. New social AI running around. The landing zone here is pretty cool. It's a nice planet. That's why it's cool. It's a pun. I think a lot of citizens will make this sort of area their base of operations. There's an extremely fast train connecting the spaceport to the main city to shops and food and large, impressive social areas with changing light states based on the time of the day. When you first spawn as well now in the game, you have a choice of the major city locations, so New Babbage, Area 18 and Lawville. At this stage, don't pick Area 18, because I'll tell you why in a minute, but it's broken. That's why, I'll tell you why now. We have 3 new moons around Microtech as well, Calliope, Clio and Euterpe. Microtech and those moons are hooked up to missions. There's also caves there now, and cave missions. You'll notice updated geological aspects of the planetary bodies and new visuals, new assets with 3.9. There's been updates to the UIs and kiosks around the game. There's even VFX on some of the ships for rain and things like that now. Pleasure Automated Prison. Players who are directly killed or die within a short distance of security forces or bounty hunters will now go to prison. In prison, all players' inventory is inaccessible, so you basically gets rid of your normal inventory that you would have access to, and instead players are given a stock prison suit and multi-tool with mining attachment. Players can serve their time normally, basically being logged in will give you a set of merits, but you can also contribute to society by mining minerals underneath the prison, and then those can be exchanged for merits to reduce your sentence using the kiosks located near the mines. Once your sentence is complete, go to the processing section in prison and then interact with the kiosk there. You will wake up in your last port that you were at, the last sort of spawn location you're supposed to have, I suppose. They have made some tweaks to Outlaw gameplay as well. They've been increasing the payout of all criminal missions by 50%. There's a new criminal mission, the Hijacked Caterpillar Prison Transport, that has you assaulting a caterpillar and releasing prisoners. There is a new law that immediately impounds player ships that collide with ships within landing areas and landing zones. This is effectively a pad ramming law. They have shifted the threshold to obtain level 4 and level 5 crime stats, and they've placed comm arrays around planets and moons and reduced their monitoring radius to cover just those sectors. So you're going to see areas of space which crimes are not detected in so much, which is where, you know, criminals and outlaws might want to operate more so they don't get crime stats if they're trying to avoid getting a crime stat, which I suppose as a professional outlaw you'd want to do. They have introduced volatile Quantanium ore, which is available throughout the universe. Quantanium is highly unstable, and once mined, the player will need to use care in how they transport it and how long they take it to transport. Any impact can cause it to degrade, and the ore will degrade over time as well. Once it degrades to a certain extent, it will be in danger of exploding. When it becomes dangerous, the player will receive a visual and audio warning and will have the option to eject all cargo. Failing to eject risks ship damage and destruction. Given the risk, successfully delivering Quantanium will be a lucrative endeavor. So they're trying to balance that with a bit of risk and reward. Mining laser consumables. So sub-items have been added which attach to mining laser heads and provide a temporary modifier for increased effectiveness. Sub-items can be activated in the cockpit using the interaction system while actively mining. With them, you can, for a time, decide to use one to decrease the instability or lower resistance, increase the optimal window, and so on. Basically, they have short-term effective uses that will increase your stats in a certain area. You can use some for emergencies to prevent explosions, or for an instant boost to just finish off mining or whatever. Some rocks and the laser that you have equipped might not be able to mine that particular mineable unless you initiate one of those boosts. So or get more people to mine it. You see what I mean? The new actor status system. So this is sort of like very light survival gameplay, and there's a variety of extreme environments throughout the verse. Players will have to factor in extreme hot and cold temperatures when planning their adventures. So, for example, Daymar, very hot. Microtech, very cold. If you want to stay safe in these conditions, equip yourself with the new Caldera, Pembroke, and Novikov suits. If you're not equipped for the temperatures, you'll begin to suffer the negative effects of hypothermia and hypothermia, eventually, not at the same time, obviously, eventually resulting in death. As with preparing your equipment for different temperatures, you will have to prepare your body as well. So they've added hunger and thirst, which is being tracked by the status system as well. So that's going to constantly be increasing hunger and thirst, so you'll have to stay topped up if you don't want to suffer the effects of dehydration or starvation. So they've added food shops to the verse and food stands, which you can go and purchase food and drink at. You can also find harvestables around planets and nom on them as well. Hom nom nom. So keeping yourself hydrated and well fed will have positive benefits to motor functions, or at least it may have. There are buffs and debuffs associated with consumption of things. You can use the commodity inventory to stow away storable foods and drinks for the journey ahead. Hunger and thirst are persistent effects that carry over from session to session. A more detailed UI has also been added for the player's visor to track those various states, and is visible when activating the updated personal inner thought wheel, which is activated by holding F and pressing right click. The updated Radial Menu gives you quick access to certain actions which are context specific, such as on foot or in a pilot seat, giving actions to a ship if you're in a pilot seat, for example. Other actions include emotes, weapon customizations, helmet removal, and many, many more. You can also set keybinds in this menu, so you can find the action you want contextually, hopefully, or through one of the nested sort of options, and then go, I want to bind this key to this. Bam. Really, really useful. You don't have to search around in options for things you can do now. This is one of the most accessible features they've made for new players for the game, as long as they tell players constantly that they can open up this inner thought menu, I suppose. You can also see your most favorited or common actions in the main wheel as well. But as I said, hold F, right click, bam. Players can also customize weapon attachments by interacting with the weapon themselves. Hold down F and customize on the held weapon in your hands, and then you can use custom attachments that you've purchased. This will allow you to change sights and barrels and all that sort of stuff too, and it's going to obviously, as with everything else, evolve in the future. There have been some big ship AI and meta updates, at least on paper. Obviously, we've got the Hesperia Prowler in this patch, which is the first Tavaran ship that we've got in the game, or at least a reproduction of one from Hesperia. The Prowler is supposed to be a slightly stealthy, quite well armored, rapid personnel deployment vehicle. It's got air shields, which means it can have all its doors open, basically, and people can EVA out without depressurizing the ship. Very, very cool looking ship, and because it's stealthy, it's sort of going to be harder to detect on your passive radars, on your scans, all that sort of jazz. Not a huge amount of actual tangible gameplay specifically for the Prowler yet, because we need scanning, radars, and that sort of stuff to be updated, stealth to be much more of a thing, but also boarding and assaulting ships to be a thing, and we won't really have that until we have physicalized components and the ability to disable ships and reasons to assault bases and slightly better AI and stuff like that. But the Prowler itself, absolutely fantastic. They've added some Tavaran weapons as well. The Light Strike energy cannons coming in sizes 1 to 3, designed for medium to long ranges, and the Deadbolt ballistic cannons ranging from size 4 to 6. They're designed for short range engagements during drops. They are both reproduced effectively by Hesperia. What else do we have? Some of the other big, well, on paper changes anyway. They've updated ship AI behavior to include greater speed ranges and improved avoidance. AI ships should no longer spin wildly when in combat. You should have smarter, more engaging AI in 3.9. But let's wait and see. FPS AI should no longer aim in random directions prior to aiming at the player. A ship should no longer be able to be snagged by another ship in its physics grid and then moved it out of sync and allowed access for its cargo. There was weird problems and bugs with that stuff. They tweaked combat damage of the size to mass drivers to bring them more in line with similar sized weapons. So this should see the meta of mass drivers now not be so much of a thing, and we'll have to see how that evolves with the live build and any other tweaks they do, though. They've also removed a bug that allowed large turrets to be placed on some hardpoints incorrectly. They added size 1 gimbals to all shops that carry gimbals, so you can now buy your size 1 gimbals for your like starter ships or whatever, or to gimbal size 1 mounts is the idea there, so that you can use auto gimbals for them. They made some tweaks to shields, but also to temporarily offset some of the issues with shield holes, damage to some ship components, some weapons and turrets no longer pass through the ship's hull. So less penetration or no penetration with those, some weapons now. And hopefully that should help as a short-term sort of patch. There's been updates to ship HUDs and missile warnings, etc. as well. What else do we have? The unification and updating of friends lists. So the main menu now has a friends tab and a notifications tab, which will log events. They've merged or are merging the Spectrum and in-game friends databases together. So they are now the same and done in real time. Your friends list cap will be 800 as well now. So when creating a party as well, a new tab will appear showing party members and leader. Those changes might be a lot more relevant to people once the build goes live though, so bear that in mind. Some other bits and major bug fixes. There were tweaks to the kind of rifles handling. Persistence data should be more accurate and copying more consistently. Players should get stuck less in chairs and ship stations and menus. Bed logouts should work more consistently. Repair, refuel, and rearm should now be working without you having to hover around. And repairs shouldn't cause ships to become invincible. Tweaks and fixes to quantum travel have been made. More areas have atmosphere that should have them. Various missions should be working again now, as should the AI and locations for those missions. The Carrack has received various fixes. Blinding lights in some ships have also been fixed. Manned turrets should no longer appear out of sync. Players should also no longer encounter invisible players who are out of sync. They should have fixed a lot of those desync problems. It is also a design choice that you quantum travel to planetary systems before, or large nearby bodies before moving to a specific area. So you can't just quantum travel to a tiny little point of interest next to a planet. Typically, you'll have to go to the planet first and then the point of interest. So they've sort of like set that so it works as intended again. Argo Mole can now attach size 1 mining lasers. They've reduced gravity compensation to make landings easier. All persistent universe purchasable items should now be available to rec rent, and ships rented with rec, so for Arena Commander basically, should now be customizable again. There are various known issues with 3.9.0 currently though with that first wave PTU. Ships spawned at Area 18 immediately explode. Avoid Area 18. All ships are loadout locked and can't be customized. In the persistent universe anyway. Ships can be customized in your hangar, and then that will persist into the universe if you do want to customize them. There are ongoing fixes and tweaks to them, but missiles and torpedoes launched beyond 1,000 meters may not reach their intended targets, even if they should. Players can get stuck in the loading screen upon leaving prison or entering a second time. Prison suit loadouts are saved after the player exits prison, or if you exit the PU and then enter your hangar. The KC trending shopkeeper stands idly and doesn't interact with the player. Karabi energy bars are missing from all locations. Ships outside of New Deal lack interaction prompts. Ground vehicles can't be spawned from ASOP terminals, which is not ideal at the moment. Changes to character models do not always persist in the persistent universe. An extra static train may appear at Area 18 Lawville or New Babbage. Obviously, that is quite major because they can prevent players from, moving. Unmanned turrets do not fire at player if they have a crime stat, and they are obviously supposed to. All Platinum Bay outposts are missing ASOP terminals. It's possible to get the contact notification window stuck behind the main menu. Being in a large party causes markers to not display correctly while inside a ship. I would expect a lot of these will get fixed pretty quickly as known issues. I would also expect a load more issues to get found during this phase, with extra thousands and thousands of testers that have been added. Some of those sort of known issues might be more difficult to fix than others, obviously, bear that in mind. But as the build becomes more stable, and they require more testers, they will put it out to wider and wider PTU and eventually the live build. We could see other content added and certainly bits being tweaked, balanced and fixed before the live build of 3.9 as well. There is also the possibility of a straight to flyable new ship or vehicle. for example. We will take a look at each of these new features in more detail in separate videos that I will get out over the next few days. If you have a preference on what features, tools, or content you'd like to see, then chuck it in the comments below. I'm going to be training my editor slash camerawoman up over the next few days to show her what's going on with Star Citizen and how I want stuff filmed. And hopefully they'll go, well, actually, this is a better way. Boom. But I have your thoughts. I'd love to hear from you in the comments below. For April, we are giving away a Cutlass Black and Star Citizen game package. Just comment on any of my videos made during this month of April to be in for a chance of winning that. I am a shill for a couple of companies, NordVPN and NordPass. If you are looking for a VPN or a password management system, I recommend you check them out. They've got many benefits over free services, and as I'm pretty security conscious, I love those kind of services. Also, there's Shadow. If you are thinking about getting a new gaming rig or upgrading your gaming PC for Star Citizen or whatever, then consider Shadow instead. It is an internet cloud-based subscription service like Stadia, like GeForce Now, but this one gives you access to a full Windows 10 environment which is fully customizable, and that is significantly better in my opinion, allowing you to do a lot more with it. Check out the links below for them or use the code BoredGamer for discount. Also, if you wish to support the channel further, there is Patreon, there's the YouTube join member button down below. That really helps. This is a community supported channel and I wouldn't be able to do what I do without the support that I get. If you want to share these videos, if you want to comment, give feedback, whatever, that is also hugely appreciated. Thanks very much for watching, guys. You take care and I'll see you in the verse.